It's Ash from SuperVideos back for another video for The Last of Us on HBO. On this video, we're going to be taking a look at whether Kathleen and Perry and the Hunter story in general was rushed in the TV adaptation. Now, obviously, their story was expanded way more than in the video game, specifically the Hunters, because Kathleen and Perry obviously didn't exist in the game, but the Hunter story was expanded from what it was. But even with that expansion, I feel like they rushed through some pretty interesting stories that we could have gotten when it comes to Perry and Kathleen. So even though it was expanded, it felt like it needed to be expanded even more. Like if you were gonna give us the story, you should just give us the full story. You know what I mean? So stay tuned. We'll be right back to break this down. Alright, as always, before we dive into it, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that said, let's dive right into it. Now, obviously, one thing I do want to say is they both got pretty badass death scenes, and they went out like a freaking boss in their own way. Obviously, with Perry, he went out being killed by the boss of them all, the boss of the monsters, the bloater, and he went out in a very gruesome and iconic way. So he will forever be in our memories as far as the TV adaptation goes as having the best badass death. And obviously, Kathleen also got a pretty interesting death. She got a pretty awesome death by the hand of the clicker child. So that was also pretty cool. And in her own way, she went out with an iconic death scene. But with that said, I feel like looking at their stories, it should have expanded even more. And I feel like they rushed through certain things. Obviously, in the episode, season 1, episode 5, called Endure and Survive, we did learn a little bit about their backstory. We did learn about who Kathleen was, who her brother was, and all of that. And also, we got a pretty interesting dialogue with Perry telling Kathleen why he's following her, or I should say, him and other hunters are following her. He said, "Your brother was a great man, we loved him, but he didn't change anything. You changed it, and that's why we're following you." So that was his reasoning behind following her. Definitely makes the story even more genuine and fills in some of the gaps, answering the question, why are these people even following her, given she's got some screws loose and she's on the edge of breaking down and she just can't make a decision that's right. She is making decisions on impulse and she's moving towards the goal of finding Henry, who she sees as being responsible for her brother's death, albeit true, obviously, but she's blinded by that goal and she's compromising a lot of stuff in the journey to get to what she's looking for, which is Henry. But with that said, even though we got this great explanation in dialogue, we didn't see it. Like, I feel like given the great expansion of the Hunter story we already got, we should have seen this. I feel like, for one, we should probably have seen Michael, who's obviously Kathleen's brother. We should have seen him lead a little bit and we should have got to know him a little bit more. And then that would definitely put us as the audience in odds in terms of, was Henry in the right or in the wrong? Because we kind of went into it thinking that he was not really responsible and that they had the wrong guy or they were looking for the wrong guy. But we did learn later that no, they were looking for the right guy. But even when that reveal came, we, as the audience, weren't split because we didn't know Michael. We didn't know how he led the Hunters. All we knew about the Hunters was the way that Kathleen was running things and how it was now. So that kind of blinded us as the audience and put a bias towards how we felt about the Hunters in general. So I feel like, for one, we should have definitely seen Michael. But as part of that, we should have got the answer of why he didn't change anything when Kathleen did. Like, we heard it, or not even heard it, but it was mentioned, but we didn't really see it. I think to appreciate that more, we should have seen it. And I feel like that was definitely one of the wasted opportunities in this episode to really expand on the Michael story and to tell us why Kathleen changed things or how she changed things when it comes to the hunters. Was she the one that really led the revolution, which led to the takedown of the federal bases in Kansas City and making Kansas City be free in their perspective? Because their perspective of freedom is probably different than anyone else. And obviously, even if that is the case, then we should have seen it a bit more because it's more speculative rather than concrete and something that they explored in the actual episode or the story. Now, one final thing I do want to mention, I feel like in order to add a little bit more complexity and a bit more layers to the story, what they should have done is instead of having Perry follow Kathleen blindly, they should have created some back and forth between them where it shows that there's tension. They should have showed that Perry is thinking about taking over or feeling like in order to save the hunters, he has to make this tough decision of taking over and basically arresting Kathleen or doing something so that she's not in charge anymore. That would have made it a lot more interesting. Even if they don't follow through with it, they should have added a thing where that was something that was in his mind. I feel like if they did add that layer to the story, it would have made it more interesting. But if they wanted to have the story go the direction where it did without changing anything, they should have at least added this layer so that us as the audience know that this is going through Perry's mind and he's not really blindly following Kathleen. You know what I mean? But that's pretty much everything I wanted to go through in this video. I hope you enjoyed. I'm definitely intrigued to know your thoughts and opinions about this. Do you think the Hunter's story was rushed in the TV adaptation? And do you think that we should have got a little bit more of story with Perry and Kathleen? So share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.